Um, Being as honest as possible, why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Because I'm a supportive spouse. Come on. Like, I don't know. It's an experiment. It's an experiment, and I like experiments. To be stagnant is to die. And if you're not trying different things, then what else is there?
Oh, yeah. Being as honest as possible, why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Because I like you. I haven't talked to you in a while. I think the whole idea is really awesome. I always find, finding out about the people behind the research really fascinating.
Yeah.
It just seemed cool, and I like you, so.
Yeah. Being as honest as possible, why did you agree to do this interview?
As honest as possible.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. How could I tell you now? I thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
It sounded intriguing.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. What can go wrong?
Yeah. Being as honest as possible, why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Well, why not? It's just I think I would like to see it about someone else, and so I think it's a good project.
Yeah, makes sense. My last question, being as honest as possible, why did you decide to do this interview?
Why did I decide to do this? Because you asked me. No, I think I'll give a slightly more serious answer, which is, I think it's to do with philosophy of life. And if you recall, in the earlier stages of this interview, I talked about the sort of life cycle and the stages of life and Indian philosophy and so on. Okay, well, I thought that this interview would be a chance to go through that exploration.
Yeah. Sounds great. Why did you agree to do this interview?
I haven't seen you for a while. That was one reason. And I like podcast, long interview form podcast, and this is a version of that, and also the idea of just learning about other people in our area and things that they've learned that isn't technical, but is more about how they approach both their work and also their life, and how to deal with their personal obligations and their work obligations. And I think is something that we don't get to hear a lot about. So I thought, not that I think that I figured everything out perfectly, I would share my little bit of wisdom, and hopefully get to listen to other folks who will share their perspective. So I just thought the concept was really cool. So
yeah, makes sense. Why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Why? I honestly enjoy chatting with you. I think you have an interesting and unique perspective on many things. Some of the things you've told me in the past really echoed how I saw certain things. But at the same time, sometimes you'll say things that surprise me. So I was just curious to know more about this project of yours, which I figured would be interesting. And the best way to know about it was to I guess, play the game.
Yeah, makes sense. Why did you agree to do this interview?
Well, we're friends, right? And I trust you. I guess one of the things I've learned as a mentor is that people in the field often miss the fact that everybody around them is human and, you know, went through a lot of the same things they're going through to get where they are. It's not like I was born a full professor and a senior research manager in the jobs I'm in, right? I traveled a path to get here, and I didn't know I would land here when I started out. And I think that's easy. It's not something I go around saying because I don't think it needs to be, but people forget. They don't remember we all have a backstory. And I also think people get a skewed view of each other. Like we know people primarily through their publications, their social media accounts, maybe press releases. I don't know. That's not a picture of a whole person at all. So I don't think this is a complete picture of who I am, obviously, but I think particularly this year when we don't get to see each other face to face at conferences, maybe anything we can do to kind of remind ourselves and each other that we're all human, probably a good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Why did you agree to do this interview?
Thanks for the question. Well, you know, a little bit I wanted to help you out, and also I trusted you. You know, like, well, you know, it might be good, and sure, I think it's quite reasonable to, you know, to find out that everyone's human, that everyone's just like you, and it might be helpful to young people to see how more senior people struggle or have struggled. And so if I can help out in that program, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. And so going back to the trust thing, now that you know what the questions were, do you think you were right in trusting me with that?
Sure. Yeah. No, it's funny. So I wrote down, I didn't know what the questions were going to be. So I wrote down, you know, how is it that I got into computer vision and what my path was, because I thought it was going to be that type of thing.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do this? Why did you agree to do this interview with me?
So I think when you approached me, my initial reaction was, wow, it would be so cool to be part of series like this. So I think that was my biggest motivation. And then I thought about it more, whether like doing this would be useful to people, like my particular perspective would be useful to people or not. But then maybe some of certain sections of the society can relate to me, and maybe can relate to me, so that can be useful. So yeah.
Why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Because you're one of my faculty members, and I always support my faculty members.
Thank you. Why did you agree to do this interview with me?
Oh, because you're cool. Like, I really like, I just, you do so many interesting things, and it's like, I don't understand how it's very interesting because you're super organized, always, but then like super creative. And so I find that really interesting. And so I was just like, oh, it's interesting to like see what you're gonna do with this thing, like human, AI thing. Yeah. So that was why.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did you decide to do this interview with me?
Because you asked me to. And
yeah.
I guess that's the main reason. I mean, I also think it was I like the idea of asking people about things other than research directions. Mm-hmm. So I thought it seemed like an interesting project.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do this interview with me?
Oh, I really appreciated a lot of what you're doing, Devi, including these series. I think bringing the humanity of AI researchers. I think it's important for the world to see, because unfortunately, they're only seeing tropes around AI, right? Whether it's the hyped up stories around them of how GPT-3 can just replace all journalists, which is far from true, or even more insidious is the Sophia robot, which is not even really a robot. It's really a faked version of mimicry. It's not even an AI in the sense it's not learning from data. right? But that's the representation people have of a feminine version of AI, right? Not real people, not flesh and blood, but this bot. So my crusade is to help the public receive different side of AI, and that includes the humans behind AI, especially women and underrepresented minorities. They deserve to be represented well. The public deserves to see them.
Yeah, yeah. Why did you agree to do this interview with me?
You asked me, and my first inclination was, no, this is not something I want to do. But you know, I thought through it, and I think the reasons for me declining weren't as good as the reasons for me to do it. And if someone does find it interesting to listen to our chat, you know, I think that's probably better than the discomfort I might feel in trying something like this. So I'm, you know, grateful for the opportunity and glad we got a chance to do it.
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned this to you that I already going in, I had a sense that I think people will find it valuable, but now having actually gone through most of the conversation, I'm even more convinced that people will find it valuable. So thank you for doing it.
No, thank you so much. And I'm really interested in seeing how some of your other conversations go, because I can imagine that, you know, they show different facets of people I might already know, and you know, help me, you know, become better at things.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do this interview with me?
It seemed like a different kind of interview. You know, I do a fair number of interviews of like a different flavor, but you said you were going to ask me about a bunch of personal questions and show me a few examples, and I thought, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do this interview with me?
I think it's fun, and then you get to catch up with you, and then I think it's nice to have. I think this is a very good initiative to kind of open, kind of see these people as a person instead of the name on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have this type of kind of you know, the kind of this feeling as well. When I first attend a conference, I was really kind of impressed that, oh wow, this is that paper, and that is this kind of see an actual person. that was really kind of, oh, this guy is the one who has this algorithm. So I feel that this series will bring us more about that, but in a kind of more reach out to more people. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Makes sense.